We'll get started. We'll have some introductions. We'll have our panelists introduce themselves, and then we'll just kind of go over the outline. We're going to talk a little bit about why arts education is important, who's learning about the arts, and how are they receiving that education. We're going to focus a little specifically on children's art curriculums because a lot of the folks on this call today, that's their focus. And then talk a little bit about North Country resources, what we have, what we could have. And then I'll have a chance for the panelists to give kind of their best practices and final words, and then a couple minutes to ask questions. So let's get started with Jason Hubbard. If you could just, there you go.
Yep, so hi, my name is Jason Hubbard. I teach art at Norfolk Central School, 7 through 12. I've been here for about 19 years, and I also am an adjunct instructor at St. Lawrence University in the art education program. I've been there for about 6 years, working with St. Lawrence University and SUNY Potsdam student teachers to become certified in New York State.
Excellent, great. Melissa, can we go to you next, please?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa Delise, and I am currently an assistant professor at SUNY Potsdam. I actually teach the psychology of art, and I study the psychology of art and aesthetics. So I primarily look at how artwork is a form of communication, really focusing on the receiver's perception of those images and how they make meaning. Thank you.
Excellent, thanks. Rachel was going to join us today, but she's unable to. So we're gonna skip over here to Marcia Rogers from Thousand Islands Art Center.
Hi, friends. I am the programming coordinator at the Art Center in Clayton, which means I coordinate all the classes that take place at TIAC. I research and hire the teachers. I arrange the calendars and order the supplies, welcome students, go right through the end of the class. And then we do evaluations. I also do the catalog, which consists of about 75 classes or more for both adults and youth. Let's see, I think that's about what I do. Thank you.
Thank you to
Good
all
to see all of you.
Thanks to all of you for being here today. So let's just jump right into the fire and ask the panelists why arts education is important. And let's break that down a little bit and talk first about how it's important to individuals, and then maybe how it's important to our communities. And I'm going to let you just jump in.
Well, I think it's important to individuals because it's an expressive outlet. It's a way for personal growth. I think it brings culture to a community. I think it opens up eyes for people to see beauty in the world. Okay.
I would say that it's important to our school districts and for students to have a sense of individuality and creativity. Try to get our students to express themselves through the arts and not try to go and copy other people, but try to come up with their own style. And it kind of gives themselves, their own vision of how they see things or so we really try to push the individuality side of it. So and obviously important to the community as well. We use the arts in Northern Norfolk to promote our program throughout the community and in the whole region. So.
Great. Thank you, Jason.
So the work that I do is primarily with visual art, two-dimensional paintings, and art is a really interesting type of object because it's one of these objects that we don't really act upon. We act within. We climb in and we create stories, and it can be a place for interpersonal connection and to learn something about ourselves and our relationships and experience emotions and learn about other human beings and their experiences. And I heard this or read this great quote about museums. Jeffrey Smith said, "Museums show us who we were, who we are, and who we could be. And I think that really speaks to this. Art is important for communities, but especially if there's representation and diversity within that space. Thank
you. Who is learning about the arts? Can we just maybe talk about arts education for each different category? So starting with kids, then developing years, and on through adult education, and what are the merits of starting and or continuing arts education in some manner, either not necessarily in a scholastic setting, but in a community setting, but what are the benefits for each of these age groups? So let's start with kids. And I know there's a lot of, traditional versus extracurricular versus, so I think Jason should start with that one since we're going with kids first.
Sure. So, unbelievably important for kids to be able to express themselves through the arts. In the K through 6 setting, we kind of really push the elements of art and principles of design, and being able to label colors and all that kind of fun stuff. But then kind of the organizational part of it as well. And even before that, and before the kids, or when we see them in 4 or 5-year-olds, but even in the manipulation stage. I mean, if you think about the kids, and I have my own children's first marks that they've ever made on paper, and being able to have that and cherish that as their first time expressing themselves, and then kind of moving up through where they're making symbols and lots of potato head drawings and stuff like that, and kind of continuing up through to then we basically try to vertically align our standards and focus on the elements of art, and kind of help foster them up through to where I am as a 7th and 8th grade teacher. That's when we tend to lose our students a lot of times, when they're getting up to the stage where they want it to look realistic, but they don't have the expertise on how to make it realistic yet. So that's where I think our job as educators is unbelievably important, to help them bridge that creativity of being able to freely express themselves, but then want it to look realistic, and trying to bridge that gap to the point where they are able to actually express themselves in a way that they are drawing up to their standard that they want. And I think that's usually how we tend to lose our adults, is that they don't bridge that gap.
That's a great answer. Marcia, do you want to follow that up? Because Jason's in the K through 12 setting versus you are in the community-based arts setting. So I'd be curious to see how your answers compare.
Going back to what Jason said, you kind of lose them at a certain point. And that's a key thing, because we are losing the kids after they get to a certain point too. And we're just talking this morning about starting like a teen advisory council or something like that, because the kids are really interested up to a certain point, and then we kind of lose them. And we're wondering why. Is it because of what Jason said, or is it because of jobs at that point where they're getting jobs and friends and all that? So we need to pull them back. We need to get the kids back focused and go to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how yet, but we need to work on that.
Yeah. I think the signature on my email for work is, what is it? Every child is an artist. The challenge or the problem is to have him remain an artist after he grows up. So,
Yeah.
and that's kind of, I think, that like phenomenon that you're talking about, where that interest, it's not cool anymore, it's not fun anymore. Is that what it is at that age? Or
Definitely a great Picasso quote, which you think of Picasso and just amazing artist. And I think part of it is I always talk about my middle schoolers on how in middle school, what are we trying to do? We're just trying to fit in, right? And I feel that my role as an educator in the middle school is trying to get them to stand out. I want them to be individuals. I want them to express themselves in a different way. And part of that is trying to help them express themselves in whatever medium or choice of style of art that fits them. Like I teach high school level, I teach photography courses and digital art courses where, some people really excel in that, but can't be as successful in drawing. Some people love the fine details of the drawing, but they can't express themselves loosely like they can in the painting. So trying to help them get lots of different opportunities to work in different mediums to see how or what type of artists are they. Went to a staff development years ago, and it really changed my outlook on teaching. And it was, you know, when you see a kid struggling and on a certain project, I remember the presenter was like, "Oh, I see why you're struggling here. You're more of a painter, aren't you?" And then they kind of steer them in that direction, and then all of a sudden that flourishes and it takes off. So it's fun to get them to be able to express themselves in a way that is important to them and that they can be successful. And then once they are successful, you celebrate those successes as much as you possibly can.
It's interesting. I'm taking little notes here, and the word express, expressive, and expression have come up many times, I think, in this conversation so far. And that seems to be the primary focus of getting the children involved in art at an early age.
And, maybe that is why the little kids are very in tune with it, because they're still uninhibited. They express easily. Where you grow into your teen years and you sort of become inhibited,
Yeah.
I think, and you want to express yourself in a certain way to your peers. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do know that we need to plug the teenagers back into the arts. I just spoke to a senior in high school yesterday, and she said there was one person in the art club at TI in her grade level, and that was her. So
Wow, that's
it's
sad.
indicative of what's going on.
Yeah. Excuse me, in addition to expressing, what about, teaching an appreciation, or does that come later after childhood? Maybe childhood focuses more on expression, and then we're as individuals age, they kind of shift more toward appreciation. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there as a question. So let's move up to developing years. So we talked about little kids. Now, developing years would be high school, maybe college, somewhere in there.
So I just wanted to comment that play and curiosity are really important for how humans and other species learn. And I think it's interesting, especially in this culture, that as students progress within their education, they have to work within a system that is very linear and hierarchical. And engagement in a creative process doesn't necessarily look that way. And so maybe there needs to be more of an interdisciplinary focus, maybe teaching of the creative process and appreciation, but also creativity and the arts in multiple disciplines. One of the most unbelievable experiences I've ever had is I was in my psychology undergraduate taking a class in sensation and perception at the same time I was taking color theory. And so I got to work with these materials and applied practices at the same time I was learning about the science, and my mind was just blown. And I think that was a really a foundational moment for me to continue on in the career that I've chosen. But yeah, creativity can show up in all these different domains, and I don't think it's explicitly stated or taught necessarily.
Excellent. Just gonna change the outline structure a little bit. Instead of going to the different age groups, let's continue to talk about children's art. So I have a number of questions that are specific to teaching younger people. We already talked about the skills that are learned. How does arts education affect academic performance overall? Does it help? And if so, how does that help?
Well, I definitely think it helps tremendously. I mean, for one, we use the arts as a hook for our students that maybe might not be as successful or do as well in other disciplines. So, and they come in and we keep them in school because of the arts. So we use that as a way to engage that student the same way that you would engage a student that is an athlete, and making sure that we have them on a sports team. And it's that connection to the school and that connection to an adult that they're able to continue to foster. And then from there, hopefully encourage them to do well in the other disciplines. I try to incorporate a lot of writing in my classroom. And one thing that I've done, we're always looking at art history. So we'll do a bell ringer every day where they're, looking at a famous piece of artwork. Sometimes it might be a peer's artwork, and then writing about the elements of art and principles of design, and getting them to be able to visually describe what it is that they see. And I found that it really helps our visual learners. It helps students that maybe are a little behind in their writing ability in the past. So they're writing from a source, but the source happens to be something that is visual to them. And then they're able to break down what they see and be descriptive, show descriptive evidence from that source. And that kind of helps them as well. So I try to bring the other disciplines into my classroom, and I definitely encourage my other colleagues to bring the arts into their classroom as well.
That's great.
Yeah, I
Gentlemen.
think, as Jason said, I think what they're learning in art, what they're learning about artists in particular, or regions and things, it blends over to history and global studies and things like that as they're learning about artists and methods and disciplines.
Excellent. Terrific. One of the questions that I had sent ahead was to compare and contrast the different approaches to teaching. We've kind of done that a little bit, K through 12 setting versus, after school setting. I think doesn't anybody want to add anything to that after the conversation we just had?
I would add one thing, if you don't mind. And again, everybody teaches differently. So as I'm also the president of NCADAS, which is the North Country Art Teachers Association. And we really pride ourselves in the fact that we have, 45 teachers in our group, but we all teach very differently, right? So, but my style of teaching that I've had success with is that I have almost like a mathematical approach to teaching, almost like playing an instrument. So I try to, if a kid says, I can't draw, okay, well, that just means you haven't learned how to draw yet. And it kind of gets them a little bit more engaged to the fact that, okay, I just can't do it. No, it's you just haven't learned how to do it yet. If I hand you a clarinet and say, play it, and you've never had any experience with that clarinet, you wouldn't be able to do it. But if I teach you the keys and we'd be able to move from there. So in the middle school setting, I can teach them, if the grid method or whatever it is, certain crutches that help them learn to draw from observation and use their eyes instead of using what they think something looks like, and then slowly take those crutches away. So I teach in a much more, okay, you're thinking right now. I don't want you thinking, I want you using your eyes. So that's my approach to teaching, and we've had quite a bit of success in our district because of that. And the other thing is throwing out the window what you think a 8th grader is capable of doing. They are so unbelievably capable. I have students work that needed to change over my near 20 years of teaching, where early on I had in my mind what an 8th grade project looked like. And I was doing more of the work at that point. So now it's a lot more student choice. And it's been an unbelievable difference where we have 8th graders, and I can show you work, and it's just absolutely phenomenal for any level of ability or age-wise. So, but yeah, so mathematical approach, again, that's just kind of a term that I use. And then also high rigor. If you have high rigor, these students will come up to that. The artists will come up to that level.
Okay. What are the benefits to getting kids involved at an early age? Is there an age? I'd be curious to kind of see what all of you say, what each of you says, but what is the right age to get a kid involved in art, and why is it important to start young?
Well, I think it's I would start early, as early as possible, 2, 3, whenever they can pick up a pencil or a crayon. It kind of gets them out of the box and they're learning and opens their mind. As you get older, it also gives you an outlet so you're not on the computer all the time. It gives you a whole different outlook on life. I mean, you see these kids that are just on their computers all the time, where you see the other kids that are drawing and painting and they're outside, and it expands your mind, I think, develops a part of your brain where you see the beauty in things.
Yeah. Does anyone want to add to that?
I would just say the earlier, the better. We just have this inclination to attempt to represent our world and our experience in a myriad of different ways. And so we could be fostering that as early as possible, but it's never too late and it's never too early, kind of thing.
That was going to be another question. When we talk about adults, is it ever too late?
No, absolutely not. Never.
That's good to know. So let's talk a little bit about, we talked about little kids. We can massage the high school and the college years more toward the adult learners. What's the difference between teaching little kids and teaching an adult? Or what are the challenges that adults face or maybe don't face? I suspect they face more challenges than children do. But let me see what you experts have to say on that.
I'm not a teacher, so it's hard for me. I just watch teachers. We have a ton of adult classes, and our age range, I mean, we go from 5 years old to, we've had people in that are 90. So the learning continues and the appreciation for art continues.
Yep.
It probably is more challenging to teach adults, I would guess, because of their inhibitions and their expectations. But I'm only surmising because I'm not a teacher, like I said, but.
I agree.
It goes back to what Jason was saying about, I don't know how to draw. I can't draw. And it's like, no, you just have never been taught. So, and we need to especially remind the adults about that. Kids are usually game.
Yeah.
And I would say that with that, like, I mean, I hear it all the time, like when parent-teacher conference, I don't know where they get it from. I can't draw a stick figure, and they'll always get into that, and it's that confidence that you have to teach. And another thing I would say, and I would say that this is learning in general. So I've adjuncted a little bit at the college level outside of the art education level. I taught photography course. It was one of the best experiences of my teaching career. It was in the common course where I got to teach all 4 of our local colleges in one photography course. And it was really, really interesting. So I had some non-traditional students that were, a little bit older than the regular college students. And I found that the older students had a much harder time jumping in and just playing, like just trying it. Where like, show me, and I'm thinking about my 79-year-old mother-in-law right now, where tell me exactly what I need to do, and I'm gonna write down the step by step. Yeah, if you give the exact same technology to my 12-year-old, he'll just fool around with it until he figures out how to do it. So, and that's just in teaching in general or learning in general, is that we have, there is definitely generational learning. We learn differently now. Our younger generation learns differently now than in the past. And I think bringing it over to the arts, where I can see at the older level, where you really need to scaffold the learning. So to make sure that the adults are successful so that you're building the confidence, then they're able to move on. So like if you get like your different painting classes where, everybody's leaving with the exact same painting. Yes, it's like, okay, you're learning how to paint exactly that, but you're building confidence. And then from there, then hopefully our adult learners would then go on and create their own original work. So, but it's kind of one of those steps along the way. And without that process, I don't think they would jump in and learn. They have to learn how to do it first, and then they're more apt to go out and try it.
Absolutely agree with that. Mhm.
I think it's interesting that we call them paint and sips is what I call them anyway. But I know NISCA, the New York State Council on the Arts, through our re-grant program, will not fund paint and sips because they're not developing a skill. Any arts education project has to be skills-based sequential learning versus, this is just repetition in their mind. So, and that's a hard, but sometimes that is the one thing, as you said, that's going to entice somebody. Let me just try something small. I'll go with my friends, and it gives them an introduction. So, yeah.
And I would say that at the, go ahead, Melissa, I'm sorry, I've been talking enough.
I was just gonna say that with adults in particular, I mean, we've spent so much time internalizing the rules and the expectations of our culture that we have to step over this hurdle of things being wrong or not perfect or enough. And also, like I mentioned before, like we're steeped in a culture that values analytical thinking as opposed to holistic. And so everything has to be this linear, structured, hierarchical way of processing that I don't know if that marries as well with the arts discipline. So it's just a different way of processing. So it's like, oh, I need a new task set to be able to process information this way, but it's possible.
And I would agree that the sip and paint is like as an art teacher, no, I don't agree with it. Like I would never want my students doing that. So we're like, we're not like, we do not allow Google Images in our school district. Like you are not allowed to use Google Images. These things right here, these cell phones have been a difference maker for us where no, you need to go out and take your own original source material and we will use that to create artwork. And that just makes where every single student in the classroom has a very original, unique project. And, for the K through 12 setting, yes, that's what I support. But I do understand like the sip and paint, it builds confidence in our adult learners. And but I don't know the answer to that one though. I don't have enough experience there.
Let's move on and talk a little bit about our North Country Arts resources. So what opportunities for expression and learning currently exist in the North Country? This is your perfect opportunity to toot your horn and any organizations you're affiliated with or support, we'd love to know about them. And we have an arts inventory that we're happy to email to anybody. It's a think tank, anything that's nonprofit, for profit. We try to keep an inventory of that. So if anyone's interested in that, just shoot me an email. So what do we have? I'd be curious.
Well, we have TIAC, Thousand Islands Art Center in Clayton on John Street. We have, like I said, over 75 classes for adults and kids. We have an after-school arts program in the spring and fall. Spring goes from February through April, and fall goes from October through December. Other than us in the area, there's lots of theater programs. There are libraries and YMCAs are also picking up, I think, on the arts programs for kids and adults. I know our library does a lot of craft things like that. And just a lot of villages, like I just learned that Cape Vincent has picked up on some summer camps for kids. If their kids can't get down to Clayton or whatnot. Same thing with Alexandria Bay in the Thousand Islands region. So
yeah.
The one thing that I do wish that we could cultivate are kids from the lower income families and things like that still don't seem to get out, and how to reach them and get them scholarships and things like that. That's a huge thing for the Arts Center, and it's all about reaching them. And what we do when we do the kids programming for after school is we send brochures to every parent in the area, but we still seem to only get certain ones that come. We don't offer a bus service or anything like that, so that is difficult for kids in the area. Everybody's working, parents are working. So that's a challenge. That's a challenge for us. We want more kids to come. We have the scholarship funding, and we are giving out scholarships, but we want to do more.
Yeah.
So
Great.
Yeah, I can speak to what we do. I'm the assistant executive director for a community performance series. It's in residence at SUNY Potsdam. And obviously with COVID, we, all third-party visitors were shut down. We cannot have any events on campus, but we have a Meet the Arts series, which is geared K-12, and there's multiple levels. There's little kids where you have something like Rainbow Fish is our last in-person event, and that is puppet theater. It's really, in the pre-K and lower elementary age group. And we did some extension activities before that were hands-on, and also some collaboration with the North Country Children's Museum.
Oh, nice.
But generally it would be theater-based, performance-based, and then there's generally a page to stage program that we connect with the Sheard Center on campus. And that's a high school level. So you have national players generally, or a theater group comes in, and it's tied to a book and a curricula. So it's pairing up with those things and making and just kind of bringing to life text in a way that's impactful. And then instrument petting zoo, which is right before kids will choose an instrument. They can come and they go to all the different sections. So they would do strings or brass, all the different families. And then the music education students are developing programming for them. So it's actually really awesome for everyone involved. And they really get to experience these instruments and get to really understand them and touch them and play them and do different activities, hands-on activities. And then the Orchestra of Northern New York will play for them so they can see it all together. And I feel like that's such a great program. And they've also done Colts Day, which has been for the Colton School. And they come and they just do the arts. They do music, dance, theater, all kinds of different things. And the Potsdam students are helping to create these things, and faculty, and they just have a great day. So we're really wanting to develop that for more schools and get them just also being on campus so they see what college is about and how, that's a path for them. And it's really exciting for them to be able to experience that. And we really want to continue. So I'm excited just to partner with the Sheard Center, the Children's Museum, and the Weiser Center on campus so we can do STEAM things, and I can't wait to have them back. The kids are the best audiences. They are so excited. They're so sweet, and like you just get a little bit emotional about it actually, because they're so excited. They're so excited. So I can't wait. I can't wait to have them back. I can't wait to do these things with them.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. So we talked about what resources we do have. What opportunities or resources are there would be beneficial to the North Country arts community that we don't already have? What do we need? What are we missing?
I think you guys are providing a great service to us, because you're getting us all together and we're able to talk about our problems and things like that and solve a lot. But I think the only thing that I think I can, we're getting a lot like a lot of co-ops in this area. I think we're building a lot of co-ops, artist co-ops that are also teaching from kids to adults. But the only one thing that I've run into is supplies. We don't have any place to get supplies around here.
Oh,
but except for Watertown. I don't know about you guys, but it's tough to get art supplies around here. Everything's online.
it is. Yeah, it's tough up here.
What do
So
you
that's,
guys think?
there's an opportunity for someone, we're talking about resources, you know, art supplies. There's a new St. Lawrence County on Route 37 in the town of Louisville. There's a new SLC art supply. It's a small place. I haven't been there yet, but that's new. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Yeah, you always have artists running in and saying, oh, do you have a certain paint? Or
right.
can I get a pad? I need something, or knitting needles or whatnot. And the only thing I can say is Michael's or Joanne's or Watertown or something like that.
Etsy.
Can't
I've
get
been doing
anything in
more
a
and
pa-
more with Etsy. More and
Yeah.
more supplies to make things from them instead of just finished products.
Yeah,
So,
right.
but yeah, we could definitely use some supply shop.
Mhm.
Any other, are we missing anything education wise, either for children or adults? Is there something we as an arts community could do better, offer something? Or are we doing a good job?
I think you guys are doing a great job.
You guys are too. Your catalog is incredible.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
do a lot of classes. Yeah.
I really wish that art would be a big focus. You know how sports, I know it's for the schools, but they will transport by bus to different places. And for arts, like an art center like us, it costs us quite a bit to try to transport kids.
Yeah.
Say we want other rural communities to get to us. Because of our kids program, we just couldn't afford something like that to take a TI bus or an Alexandria Bay bus, even if it's small, to bring them to the art center after school. So we always have to rely on parents.
So that's one of those barriers to entry, why you're not seeing maybe some of the
Absolutely.
lower income children in your program. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Okay. Any other opportunities in the Tri-County area here that you can think of, or? Okay. So let me just pose the three panelists your best practices for those that are wishing to establish an arts education program or to improve an arts education program that they already have. Any words of wisdom? And you're all from different, sectors, so.
I'll jump in and say, offer top teachers in the fields, top teachers and artists in the fields. We try our best to do fair tuitions, scholarships for kids. I would say always include supplies within your tuition. It's hard for students to get supplies. Always encourage your students, like Jason said, you have to encourage them, good or bad. That's what it's all about, is encouraging them to take the next step forward. Make your students a part of your family organization. Make them always feel welcome and happy there. You want to leave them always walking out the door, whether they did a great project or they didn't. Leave them feeling welcome and happy with what they've done and wanting to come back always. Got to reach out to other organizations to pair so your community is benefited. Get as many people involved as possible.
Yeah, great.
We've done things like that with our kids programming. Recently, we paired with Save the River to do some of our kids programming, where we'd have a speaker come over and talk about the fish in the river or Arctic animals or things like that. And then they would go on to, once they've learned about them, then they would go on to do projects about them. And we just put up an exhibition of our after school arts kids having done that. I just think we're fortunate to have a large art community here, growing art community. The artists around, we have a huge artist community that's willing to share their talents and their time as teachers, exhibitions and things like that.
Mhm.
And like I said, new co-ops popping up all the time. I know Bill was on here earlier. He's got a new artist co-op down towards Alexandria Bay by the bridge. Just things like that, you know, to get community involvement and always make your people feel welcome and happy in your place and encourage them.
Terrific. Thank you, Marcia.
You're welcome.
Any other final comments?
I would say if for beginning an arts education program to really foster individuality and creativity, stay away from fan art, leave that for anything Google images, anything that famous art or famous people that they want to draw, you know, that's fan art. Let's stick to fine arts where we're creating our own original source materials that you can 100% say it is yours, it's your vision, your idea. You know, we talk a lot about plagiarism in writing, and that's something that we really stress in our program is that, you know, plagiarism in the art room. So we want to see that originality and scaffolding the skill set that the students are going to have success with. So building, we call it backwards design, where you're going to build the project and how they're going to be successful in that project, and celebrating the successes of the students. So making sure that they are appreciated and showcasing their work as much as you possibly can.
Great. Terrific.
So I would just like to say, so I teach the science behind the creative process and how we receive art. But I think that along with the decolonization of the educational system that is happening currently, and the validation of different ways of knowing things about the world, especially using your senses and this holistic approach to perception, I'm really hoping that that's going to correspond to an increased value in arts education, especially around funding. So that's something I'm looking forward to. I hope that happens.
Great. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open it up to the floor. If anyone has any questions for our panelists or anything you want to share, question for me, give you the opportunity to do that now. We're a little ahead of schedule, but that's okay. No questions? All right.
No questions?
No questions. What's that? I'm going to have Jenna check to see if Facebook has any questions, because this is live streaming on Facebook right now. Hi, Facebook world. No other questions. So at this time, if no one's got any other questions, I wish you a very wonderful day, and I want to very gratefully thank our panelists today for being here and for providing us with such great insight. So
Good to see all of you. Thank you, Alicia.
have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.